on today's episode of the Gripe Session podcast. Today we're going to have a conversation about what do real estate agents do to keep busy when we can't get out there and show houses. What do you think?
It's Gripe Session time with your host, George Wanaka.
It's about nothing.
Discussing everything from real estate, current events, a little bit of everything, and the annoying little things that just tick you off.
You can't handle the truth.
What? You didn't know?
Here's your host, George Wanaka.
Your ass better call somebody.
Welcome to the Gripe Session podcast. I am your host. My name is George S. Wanaka. I am a realtor in Staten Island, New York. I am also a certified real estate appraiser, as well as a mortgage broker, as well as an instructor of real estate. But let's be frank, you really didn't listen or tune in today to listen to me tell you about what exactly I do. I've been in this business for 25 years in the real estate business, but the purpose of this podcast, just so we're all on the same page, is to entertain, is to educate, and is to get you, ladies and gentlemen, to think a little bit. So with no further ado, let's get right into it, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to today's episode of the Gripe Session podcast. And unfortunately, there's been a lot of negative things that have been going on lately in our world today. One of these things is this dreaded coronavirus. And unfortunately, we as agents are independent contractors. So essentially what that means for people that listen to this that aren't real estate agents is we don't get paid a salary. We have to basically figure out how we're going to make our commissions last from one month to the next month and plan appropriately. So when an epidemic or pandemic like the coronavirus comes on, I've been reading a lot lately online and through emails and everyone's been getting 100 emails about what is everybody doing with the coronavirus and what exactly do we do here? And granted, listen, I'm doing this 25 years. This is definitely unprecedented, right? But the fact that I am in this business for 25 years, all it does for me is it brings me back to the days of when we were selling homes in a recession. It brings me back to the days when the market was not hot. It brings me, quite frankly, back to basics, right? The things that we all used to do, but we didn't have to do it anymore, right? Now, what are some of those things that go on? Well, it really depends. It depends on the person. It depends on, are you more comfortable working with buyers? Are you more comfortable working with sellers? It talks about, again, going out there and putting out valuable content for people regarding not necessarily just real estate, but content that is deemed valuable. Now, a lot of people think by posting their listings, and you've heard me talk about it on this podcast before, just posting your listings out there is not what people call valuable content. That is self-serving. That is, quite frankly, ridiculous. But there are people still out there doing that. That is not going to help you during this time. It's just not. What you really need to start to learn how to do is things like a podcast, getting your name out there. Really need to learn how to do Facebook ads and, quite frankly, do them successfully. Because any idiot can run a Facebook ad, right? I mean, look, I'm one of them. I'm an idiot that knows how to run a Facebook ad, but I learned. Take the time to nowadays, when things are a little bit slow, to not just necessarily enjoy your family if you've been quarantined, or if your area, like New York, quite frankly, is just coming down with, the governor just announced today that they're going to, all non-essential employees need to stay home as of Sunday at, I believe, 8 o'clock. So what that means is that we might all kill each other in my house. No, that's not what it means. I'm just kidding. Or maybe not. But anyway, It means that, you could do things in your house as well and get your house back in order if it's not. My house, quite frankly, I have 3 kids. Enough said, my house's order is far from my house, but I digress. So what I would definitely recommend people look to do is go online, do some research during this downtime. Look on how to run Facebook ads. There's this wonderful thing that I say it all the time, GTS, right? For those of you who don't know what GTS stands for, all of my students do that listen, stands for, you say it with me, Google that shit. If you don't know how to do something, Google is the wonderful tool that we, quite frankly, didn't have back in the day. So the best advice that I can give you, one thing I would definitely be doing nowadays if I was an agent and if things got a little bit slower, is I would be looking to learn new technology, learn how I can definitely put this into my business and carry it forward and go from there. What's another thing that I could be doing? Well, for some of us that have been in this business for an extended period of time, we all have these wonderful things called databases, right? Now, these databases with our former clients and contacts and just etc. I ask every agent that listens to my voice right now, we all will sit back after a while and look at a contact and go, wow, I haven't talked to that contact in a couple of months. I haven't talked to that contact in a year. Guess what? You got the perfect time. You got the perfect opportunity. This is the time to be reaching out to those people, checking in with them. Hey, how are you? I haven't spoken to you in an extended period of time. I just wanted to double check, make sure everybody was okay over there. And just to say hi. I haven't talked to you in a while, and that's not like me, but I wanted to reach out to you and say what's up. Do not, and I repeat this, do not try to sell them on the status of the real estate market. Call them to be a human being. That's what's going to generate more business for you down the road. Okay? Now, granted, people are going to know there's going to be tons of people calling because, quite frankly, nobody can go out and do anything nowadays. But I would implore you to make sure you're just reaching out for the sake of reaching out. Don't do it looking for business. The business will come once you make your real determination as to why you're calling, meaning you're just checking in with a former client to see how they're doing and go from there. And listen, I get it because I've felt it. Sometimes it's embarrassing. I haven't reached out to you in a year, and I don't know how that happened. You have to own it. You have to own that spot. Okay? Just to come right out and admit it. Gives you some things to talk about. How's everything going? How is the house? How is the family? How's the kids? How's the this? How's the that? It's all good. Again, this is more just a personable conversation. You spent, in some cases, months with these people, helping them make the most important purchase of their entire life. Not only the most important purchase, but in all likelihood, the most expensive financial decision that they're ever going to have again in their life. And we basically sometimes do it as a one and done. Okay, good, we're done. And I never talk to you again. That's not service, ladies and gentlemen. That's selfishness. So if you can take anything from a bad situation that we're currently in as a country and as a world with this pandemic, take this opportunity to rebuild those relationships with the people that you have not spoken to in an extended period of time with your clients. But I'm also now going to kind of move into a completely different or side topic. I started to just say a few minutes ago, Rebuild those relationships with people that you've lost touch with, meaning your clients. But in the same breath, it could also be said for family, friends, loved ones. This is a perfect opportunity, not to have gatherings, mind you, but we now have technology to do things like FaceTime. We now have technology to send text messaging to people. And I would also implore you, while we're talking about clients and we're talking about extended family and extended friends, I would implore you, this world moves so quickly nowadays. Everyone's always running 1,000 miles an hour. And the one thing that I always notice that we just don't do until something major happens is start to learn to appreciate our family, our immediate families, and the things that we do every single day. And we just take things for granted. And I would like to take this podcast time today to make sure you're not taking your significant other for granted. Your kids, if you have them, for granted. Because, again, it all of a sudden, one day, might not be here anymore for one reason or another. And this is not meant to be a gloom and doom podcast, quite the contrary. This is meant to more be an appreciative podcast today. You know, we always talk about the gripes, and I could gripe a lot about some of the things that I've been seeing, with whether it be toilet paper or the panic and the this and the that, and it's all very much warranted, and I get it. But what I seem to focus on nowadays is, you know, I'm very appreciative of my wife and the sacrifices she makes on an everyday basis, and pretty much allows me to go and do all of the things that I do. You know, I'm more appreciative of my kids every day. I see, you know, some parents that I've talked to over the last week or so, especially when the kids have been home, and they just, some people just don't like the kids because the kids are a pain or the kids are this or that, and it may not be popular to say that, and that's fine. But, you know, for the most part, you know, my kids are awesome. You know, I have nothing but fun with my kids, but the kids, they can be pains in the rear ends, and I'm sure that my parents said the same thing about me at some point. But I appreciate the living heck out of my kids, because they're all good, and bad in their own individualized ways, but they're mine, and I am appreciative every single day for the blessings that they are, and my wife is. So I've got that going on. And the last thing that I would like to leave the podcast listeners with today, and please feel free to share this podcast with somebody that you think might benefit from it today, if that's at all possible. And you know, I greatly appreciate the listeners of this podcast. We're trying to build the audience up too. So any help you can do, I would greatly appreciate. But be that as it may, the last thing and the most important thing, in my opinion, is I've recently gotten back into getting in shape and working my body out. Unfortunately, I got to work on the diet part of that, but that, again, it's a work in progress. But I would tell anybody that can, now that we have, or you have, the time to do so and to concentrate on your health, this is an opportunity. And you don't necessarily know when these opportunities come, but this was a perfect opportunity for myself, and for those that watch me on Instagram know that I've been trying to post it religiously, of getting back in shape, putting your body back to work so your body can help you fight off things down the road. Now, nobody's talking about muscle bound and getting ripped and all that other kind of stuff. I want to be physically fit, because at my age there's a lot of things that I still want to do, and I know there's going to be that day that, and people have heard me say this, there's going to be that day that, you know, I can't play basketball like I want to play basketball, or I can't play baseball or softball the way that I'm capable of playing baseball and softball, because, as the expression goes, Father Time is undefeated and undisputed. And there's going to be that day where that bell rings and it says, that's enough for you, my friend. So I'm trying to prolong that as long as humanly possible with getting in some of my workouts that I'm doing. Does that mean that everybody needs to do P90X? No, it doesn't mean that. It means find something that you can start off small and push yourself to get yourself in better physical shape. Maybe it's just walking. Maybe it's walking around the block. Maybe it's walking on a treadmill. Maybe walking around your house. Try to get at least some healthy aspects of your day, whether it's working out or whether it's eating healthy. This is the opportunity to kind of do that, and it's a golden opportunity, quite frankly. You know, it makes people sit back and think and say, hey, you know, why does it take a tragedy or something like this to get us refocused on what really matters and things that we all really know that we should be doing anyway, right? Like, why does it take, if you think about this, why does it take something bad to happen for us to focus on the things that we know we really should be doing? You know, as opposed to sitting on that couch and watching television, you know, focus on, I don't know, whether it be concentrating on your database, getting ready, get off that couch, let me go work out for 20 minutes or a half an hour. You know, why does it take something like this to make us refocus? That's really my question for today. So if you have any answers to that, I would appreciate you reaching out. You can reach out to me on the Gripe Session podcast on our Facebook page. Send me an instant message on there, and maybe I'll read it on the next episode. But I want to have you, ladies and gentlemen, think about those things. And again, I really appreciate all of the love that the people that support this podcast have been giving me on the side. It's really worth a lot. I'm trying to come out here with a lot of different podcasts. I'm trying to be as consistent as I can with it. Obviously, with last week we had some issues, but I got another podcast hopefully getting lined up very, very shortly. One of our next guests is going to hopefully be Mr. All-Time, and we call him All-Time at Fantasy Camp, Lenny Harris, one of the all-time pinch hit specialists in Major League Baseball, is hopefully going to be one of our next guest episodes, and I got a couple more other people on there. So for those of you that are missing baseball and missing sports at this time, feel free to check out this podcast and listen to this podcast, because you never know who might show up on the next episode of the Gripe Session podcast. Well, that's all we've got for today. I want to thank you for listening to the podcast today. I hope you are all staying safe out there, and make sure you're listening to all of the warnings that have been going on around this unbelievable pandemic. Again, try to do something nice for somebody that you wouldn't normally do. I really appreciate the love and support of this podcast. It means the world. And we'll catch you on the next edition of the Gripe Session. We'll see you later.
Thanks for listening to the Gripe Session. Please follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.